Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since I last posted here on YouTube. I'm usually more on TikTok and I post a lot more there with shorter content, but I'm trying to get back on YouTube and make longer videos, so I'm here now. Let's get into this case right away because I've been meaning to talk about it. But before I start, I wanted to ask you guys this question. What would you do if you found out that your significant other has been plotting to take your life and specifically has been poisoning you for a while? I've been seeing these cases over and over and over again. I literally just covered another case very similar to this one, but instead the victim actually survived. In this case, unfortunately, 32-year-old Betty Bowman did not. This case recently took place on August 16th of 2023, so not too long ago, where 30-year-old Connor Bowman poisoned his wife of 2 years, Betty Bowman, with gout medicine, and she became extremely sick and passed away. Connor's motive will leave you shocked, and all I can say is that people are losing their damn minds. So who was Betty and Connor Bowman? 32-year-old Betty was born in Wichita, Kansas, and graduated from the University of Kansas School of Pharmacy with a pharmaceutical doctorate in 2018. Betty worked as a pharmacist at Mayo Clinic, and everyone who knew Betty knew how much she loved her job and how hard she had worked to get to where she was. One thing that everyone could agree about Betty was how much she loved her dog Crumpet. Betty adored this dog. This was literally her baby. She did everything with this dog. She took this dog everywhere, and everyone had that to say about her. One of Betty's former dog walkers, her name is Carly, she came forward and said that Betty loved her dog so much that she would brush Crumpet's teeth every single night. Carly even spoke about Betty and said that she was such an amazing person, and she hired her to walk Crumpet on days when she had to go to work. But she said that a lot of times she would even come on these walks with her and Crumpet, and she would still pay her. She even tells a story when she was on her way to Betty's house to walk Crumpet, and she got a flat tire, and Betty just randomly sent her $60 so that she can help her fix her tire, which goes to show how much of a great person she was. She was very generous, and she was always willing to help anyone in any way she could. Now let's talk about Connor Bowman. So Connor is 30 years old, and he was a medical resident at the Mayo Clinic where Betty was working as well, and he was also working for the Poison Control Center at the University of Kansas Health System. Now, it's not specific how Connor and Betty met, but they did get married on May 30th, 2021, and lived together in a home in Minnesota. But here's the twist. Connor and Betty were in an open relationship. Connor and Betty mutually agreed that they can be in this open relationship, but the terms were that they weren't allowed to get emotionally attached to anyone else. And listen, I've never been in an open relationship, but I'm sure that it can get messy. So on the night of August 15th of this year, Connor and Betty were drinking together in their home. The next day on August 16th, Betty texted one of her boyfriends, and this would be someone that she's talking to separate from Connor because remember, they're in an open relationship. So she texted this person and she told him that she was feeling extremely sick and she thought it was food poisoning or she thought it was the alcohol from the night before. She also mentioned that she has a feeling it was alcohol because it was mixed in a smoothie. This part is relevant, so just remember that. On that same day, on August 16th, Betty eventually went to the hospital because she was just feeling extremely sick. And the doctors were treating her for food poisoning, but nothing was working. The procedures that they were doing on her were not working on her body, and she was only getting more sick. She was so sick that she had cardiac issues, there was fluid in her lungs, and eventually this led to organ failure. And unfortunately, 4 days later, Betty passed away. So obviously at this point, everyone is shocked. They're confused. They don't understand how someone so healthy and had no pre-existing health issues suddenly pass away. Investigators sent Betty's blood samples to the Minnesota Department of Health, and they confirmed that she had colchicine present in her system. Now, this medication is supposed to be used to treat gout, which is a condition that causes a lot of pain in your joints. And health records showed that Betty did not have this issue. So why was she taking this medication? Friends of the couple have come forward and said that Betty and Connor's relationship became rocky when Connor started seeing someone new and he started to get emotionally attached to this person. And of course, Betty found out and she suggested that they get a divorce. But instead, Connor decided, let me poison you because I don't want to divorce you. So on this specific night when Connor and Betty were drinking together, despite them talking about their divorce, I guess they decided to have a drink together. He made her an alcoholic drink and he put in the medication, and it was enough to kill her. Now, while Connor was at the hospital waiting for Betty, he was talking to the doctors and he was suggesting all these different things that could have happened to her. The doctors thought this was really weird because he even suggested that she had this rare disease called HLH. Now, another thing that Connor does is that he orders that Betty's body be cremated immediately. But thankfully, the medical examiner told police that Betty's death was suspicious. So thank God they did not cremate her right away. Now, the following weeks after Betty's death, investigators found so much on Connor, it's actually insane. Like I mentioned earlier, they found the drug colchicine in Betty's system, and when investigators took Connor's work computer, they found out that he has been searching about this drug various times. And keep in mind that Connor works as a poison control specialist, so part of his job is to deal with these different drugs every single day. So there could be that possibility that he was looking up the drug because he was helping a customer. But when investigators looked further into this and looked at all his phone records and his work records, they realized that no one had called in to the clinic to ask about that specific drug. Connor was also searching very specific things such as poison and the lethal dose, specifically for an individual who weighed 120 pounds, which is how much Betty weighed. Investigators even found out that Connor bought colchicine online, and 10 days before Betty's death, he was also searching if colchicine can be used in court. I mean, this already is just like red flag after red flag. The amount of research and focus that Connor was putting into this specific drug definitely shows that he had something to do with this. It's been said that Connor was going around openly talking about how he was going to receive $500,000 from Betty's life insurance payout, and people thought that was really weird. It's also suspected that Connor has been trying to poison Betty for some time now, because one of Betty's friends came forward and told investigators that a couple of days before she got really sick, this friend was hanging out with Betty, and Betty brought a smoothie in a cup with her, and she told the friend that Connor had made it for her. When Betty's friend tasted the smoothie, she told Betty that this smoothie tasted really bad. She even joked that Connor may be trying to poison her, and they both laughed it off. But she says that she does remember thinking this was a little weird because Connor has never made Betty anything in the past. She also says that on that day, Betty ended up just throwing out the drink because she didn't like how it tasted either. Friends of the couple even came forward and said that Connor was not acting like a grieving husband, and 3 days after Betty's death, he already had his girlfriend move into the house and he removed all photos of Betty from the home, which obviously you would not do that if your significant other just passed away. And I mean, honestly, if you're trying to hide it and be low-key, you did a horrible job, man. He did everything wrong and it was just obvious it was him. So Connor was arrested on October 20th, and when police searched his home, they found a receipt for a bank deposit of Betty's life insurance policy. Connor was charged with second-degree murder, and he's supposed to appear in court on January 18th of 2024. If he is convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison, which I don't even think is a lot for what he did. But that's basically the end of today's sick and twisted case. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by liking it. I'm also heavily on TikTok. If you want to check me out, it's True Crime Kari. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.